Hello everyone, I'm Dan the Man, and I'm back for my review of Part 2 of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Much like Part 1, this is going to be more of a free-form, off-the-cuff type of review, just me giving my thoughts after watching the episode. This isn't going to be as thorough or as intricate a video as I do for most previews. So with that, on to my thoughts for the episode. First off, I wasn't quite as impressed with it as I was with Part 1. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, especially the cameos. How could you be a DC fan and not like those cameos, or maybe guest stars would be a better point since they had a little bit more than just a brief scene in most cases. But I didn't really think didn't feel like as much happened. It felt more like a filler episode. This is part 2 of 5, so that kind of makes sense. But it was a bit of a slowdown from last episode despite the very notable guest stars, which was kind of not really a letdown. I guess I wish there'd have been more, but I don't know what I was expecting. As far as my thoughts on said guest stars, I'll give those first, or the Paragons as they called them. Before I give my thoughts on them, I just want to say I don't get how that whole Paragon thing worked. I mean, why did the Monitor send them after a bunch of Superman if he didn't know which one it was specifically? How come he let Lex kill a whole bunch to lead them to it? How do you know Lex was going to lead them to the Paragon? I mean, did he just already know that the Brandon Routh version of Superman, or the Kingdom Come version, I guess you could call it, was going to be the Paragon? Because why didn't he just send them there? What was the whole point in all that? Why did he have Batwoman and Supergirl waste so much time with the other one if he didn't know that Kate Kane was the Paragon? Or rather, if he did know that Kate Kane was a Paragon. If he knew she was the Paragon, why didn't he just tell her? Why did they go through all that and fight a Batman who possibly could have killed them? What was all this? I thought time was supposed to be of the essence. The Monitor was wasting a whole lot of it for no logical reason. It just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It was cool that we used it as an excuse to get some really primo guest stars and some faces from DC's past in it, but it just didn't make sense, their execution of it. I don't know. Maybe I just missed something. I'm not quite sure. On to the guest stars, though. Obviously, the big one was that they brought back Tom Welling, who was, of course, revised his role as Clark from Smallville, arguably one of, if not the most successful superhero TV shows ever done. I mean, we can't deny what the Arrowverse caused, but none of them ran for 10 seasons. It could very well be argued that Smallville paved the way for the Arrowverse. I don't know if it would be what it was if Smallville hadn't sort of laid the groundwork with how to do a modern superhero show. Obviously, his conflict with Lex Luthor would have been better if that had been Michael Rosenbaum playing Lex Luthor, but what could you expect? They apparently couldn't get him back, or maybe they just felt it wouldn't work with the story, but what they had was good. It gave a nice little epilogue to Smallville. We found out the final fate of Clark Kent from that version of Superman, which was a nice little thing to do. It didn't really serve a larger point to the story, but it was some great fan service, and I can't really complain. I don't think anyone thought we'd ever see Tom Welling play Clark Kent again, so the fact that they let us see that one more time, that was awesome. Then, of course, there was Kevin Conroy playing Batman. I remembered his name this time, and as I said before, I watched Batman the Animated Series in high school. I really enjoyed it. I didn't have the same connection as other people did, or rather younger people, the millennials as they're called. He wasn't necessarily my Batman. He wasn't what introduced me to Batman as a character or the DC Universe. So I didn't have that kind of nostalgic connection. But for a whole generation, Kevin Conroy is Batman. So it was awesome to get to see him more or less play Batman, or rather play Bruce Wayne. He never really got into costume, but I'm guessing because of the whole movies issues, they probably weren't allowed to do that, much like how in Titans, you never really get a good look at Batman unless he's out of costume as Bruce Wayne. Same type of thing, so I never actually expected to see him in costume, so I can't say I was disappointed we didn't get to. We also got Brandon Routh, and that was cool, playing Superman again. A lot of the press releases said he was playing the Kingdom Come Superman, mostly because the suit was based on it. It wasn't really the Kingdom Come Superman, it was just an older Superman. But I think that maybe the reason that they had the costume that way is that they probably just couldn't use the Christopher Reeve one that he more or less wore when he played Superman in the movies, or they just couldn't have him be Superman from the movies. I don't know the whole intricacies of it, but even though both of them are obviously owned by Warner Brothers, they can't just do whatever they want with the movie characters. So I'm guessing that's why he wore that costume. At least it was a familiar costume. And it gave us a chance to see Brandon Routh play Clark Kent and Superman. He's still got it. I said it before. His Superman movie, Superman Returns, wasn't a great movie. It wasn't horrible, but some definite mistakes were made. It was not a good attempt to bring back the Superman franchise. I don't think any of that had to do with Brandon Routh playing the Superman. I think he did a great job. Just some less than great decision making gave him a bad movie to work with, so he was more or less doomed to fail. I hope this will further cement him as one of the great Superman actors, because he most definitely deserves it. So, as far as other thoughts of the episode, I really couldn't get into the Lazarus Pit thing. I don't know where they're going with that. I was real impressed that they killed Oliver off in part 1 because no one expected it. Clearly, he's still going to be involved in the episode. What's all this trying to bring him back stuff? He's probably not going to survive until the end, unless that's the twist. I just don't get any of it. I will wait and reserve final judgment until the episode is possible. Once this all plays out, I'll have a different take on it, but it felt like a time waster to me, like it was just something for those characters to do. I did like seeing Jonah Hex come back, more or less come back. It was obviously an alternate version of Jonah Hex, sans the scars, but it was good to see him back. It was good that he was actually different from the Jonah Hex we know, as opposed to Mick Rory, because I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but I get having him in the crossover, obviously. He's one of the originals from Legends of Tomorrow, so now the Atom, White Canary, and Heatwave are all three together in the crossover, and since they were the original Legends still on the show, that makes sense. But I don't get why they brought him back as a parallel Earth Mick Rory if he was going to act exactly the same as the Mick Rory we know. Why not just have it be the Mick Rory we know? It doesn't make any sense. It's a weird decision. Maybe it's going somewhere. It doesn't feel like it does. It feels just random. So that's mostly my thoughts on the episode. I will be interested to see where they go with the next one. I'm interested in seeing who the other three Paragons are. I can only assume one of them is Black Lightning. But as far as who the other Paragons are, I have no idea. The only guest star I know coming back that's been confirmed is that they're going to have the actress that played Huntress on the Birds of Prey TV series reprise her role. And I'm excited about that because I actually was a fan of the original Birds of Prey TV series. It definitely shows its age if you try to watch it now, but I enjoyed it then. For the limited offerings we got, I thought they did a pretty good job. But I can't see her being one of the Paragons. That would just be weird. Ooh, here's a Paragon from a show most of you didn't watch and that didn't do real well. I don't know what her guest star appearance is. I assume it's going to be a brief cameo. But whatever she's doing, I doubt it's going to be anything like being a Paragon. So I'm honestly lost at who the others could be. Maybe we've got some guest stars we don't know about coming in. That would be cool. So those are my initial thoughts. As usual, much like last time, I'm sure once I stop this video, I'll think of 20 things I should have commented on. But this is all I could think of at the time. I will be back for my review of next episode. Hopefully I'll have a better review than this one. I really didn't dislike this episode. I thought it was fine. I enjoyed a lot of it, and the guest stars obviously were great. It just wasn't as good as part 1. It felt like filler. Hopefully, since part 3 will then have a long hiatus before we get to part 4, we'll have something big. I can only assume a huge cliffhanger. Probably the world seemingly be destroyed or something. What else would it be? And given the comics, that would be the logical thing to do with it. And I will be back for my review of that episode tomorrow, sometime soon after it airs. And if you like this video, be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'm Dan the Man, and I'll see you next time.